Hello and welcome to Diminishing Returns. This week we have a new guest who we've never had before. So before we get to the film, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Alan Turing. With me as always is Sol Harris.
Hi, Bosley, something like that.
Yes, well done. And joining us from Why This Film podcast is Emily Slade.
Hello.
Hello, Emily. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, this week, guys, we are doing Charlie's Angels.
Whee!
Now, Sol, why are we doing Charlie's Angels?
There's what I thought was a reboot coming out, but it's actually apparently more like a third film it's a soft reboot, not a hard reboot. Yeah. But there's a new one coming out. They're doing Charlie's Angels again with Kristen Stewart.
We're gonna
the Twilights.
We're going to get into that in a little while. We're going to deal with the long and tortuous history of Charlie's Angels first. So, guys, before we get to the Charlie's Angels TV show, which seems the obvious place to start, have you guys ever heard of a film called The Doll Squad?
No, only when I was on Wikipedia and found it at the bottom of the Charlie's Angels page.
So I happened to find this. I was in the shop looking for Charlie's Angels on DVD, and I saw something that had the same picture as Charlie's Angels. You know, that sort of three woman silhouette thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, what's this? It's not Charlie's Angels." And I looked at it, and it's this film from 1973, I think it was, and it was just like a sort of cheap.
Is exploitation
type film? Yeah. Actually, probably not as bad as it sounds, but it is just like a cheap 70s film. When it says on the box,
the sort of thing Quentin Tarantino's been emulating for the past.
Quite literally, something that Quentin Tarantino has emulated. Right. Apparently, I think I read on the Wikipedia it said it could have been the inspiration for the Venom Viper Squad, whatever it was, the female, because they're a female group of assassins, basically.
Yeah.
But on the DVD case, it's basically everything about it is saying, "Look at this. This is before Charlie's Angels. Charlie's Angels ripped us off, definitely." I mean, it literally says on the front of this on the DVD, "Before Charlie's Angels, there was the Doll Squad."
Oh, cute.
So I did kind of watch it. I was watching it, and the disc broke kind of halfway, and I just thought, all right, I'm all right with that. I watched half of it. I'll deal with that. And it was pretty exploitative stuff. Very similar to Charlie's Angels in the sense that they've got these women, and they're the ones who go off and do all the action stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're all just knocking about in bikinis and stuff, but it wasn't particularly titillating by today's standards. It felt like watching a classic 70s porno, but they just never got to the fucking. It was just... It was quite frustrating. There was all these setups that were like, "Oh yeah, they're definitely gonna." No. She just had a fight with him and then walked off. And also the other sort of main thing I took from it was the bad guy, the main bad guy. He seems to have this sort of mystical power over women because they all fall in love with him, and so that's how he was getting them to do what he wanted.
That carrier pigeon was trained to fly to the roof of Nancy's apartment. And sweet little Nancy was going to take the microfilm of the anti-ballistic missile plans, hop a boat, and bring the plans to Eamon, all with a cute little kiss.
Nancy, I don't understand how you could get mixed up with something like this.
Well, I still don't think I've done anything wrong. I love him.
Senator, sex and security just don't mix.
Was he a good-looking man?
Oh, not really.
It was the 70s. Was there such a thing?
Well, that was the other thing. All the main women in it, like the sort of the angels, so to speak. I mean, nothing special. Just saying.
70s. The 70s fashion ruined everything it touched.
I think that might be part of it. The hair was all wrong for my taste.
Poofy and blue eyeshadow.
Did
they make up for it with winning personalities?
They make up for it with assassin skills. At one point, they gave these guys vodka, and then they exploded.
I want to watch this.
So obviously there was something else in the vodka, but they just exploded and disappeared. Like they exploded so much that there was no remnants left. And also, some of the acting, it was quite poor acting, but some of them I was like, are they on drugs? Or are they like acting like they're supposed to be on drugs? It just
They're probably
seems
on drugs.
like they were. I
It's
think,
the
it was the 70s. I think they were just on it.
70s.
So, anyway, I didn't want to make a big thing of it. It's just something I happened to find whilst looking for Charlie's Angels, so I thought I would give it a watch. I can't say I would recommend it or anything. It did feel like watching a Tarantino film, though. Yeah, when he's doing his crap.
Well, if there's one thing Tarantino likes other than shitty old exploitation movies, it's shitty television from the 1970s, 1960s.
It's fair.
Fair, yes, fair. So did you guys watch any of the Charlie's Angels TV show?
I did. It's on TV every day.
Is it?
On the the Sony channel at 6 p.m. You can rewatch.
The Sony channel?
What the hell is it? That's not even a real TV.
No, it's I'm not on Sky or anything. It's on like normal sort of digital television, and it's the Sony channel. And at 6 p.m.
I'm so out of the loop.
You can watch Charlie's Angels, and they're currently on season 1 with the original cast. And then afterwards, it plays some MASH. I didn't stick around for MASH. I've been tuning into Charlie's Angels every day, and I'm hooked.
Oh, really?
I love it.
I watched the pilot, so it's a sort of 74-minute, more feature-length episode. And then I watched another episode from later on. But I found it sort of... I didn't particularly want to watch anymore, but it was perfectly watchable. It felt like all those other run-of-the-mill kind of episodic shows like The A-Team and... this week's adventure is this. Yeah.
It very much so, and it's sort of like detective-y and like, like they're not doing anything particularly special. I mean, it was called, I'm sure you know this, it was called Jiggle Television, which was meant to be like tits and ass television. But like, as you said about the other one, like, because it was the 70s, censorship had only just like left. So like, it's really not that titillating. But it is so enjoyable to watch something from what I see as so long ago have these female characters working together in this way, and it's just so enjoyable for me as a woman to watch. I don't know. Yeah,
that is a good point. You are, if I may get personal, a woman, and we didn't deliberately get you on here for a woman's opinion,
we
but
need a woman.
It would be good to get that side of it, because I did notice. I watched the pilot, and it was definitely like, these are empowered women. They're the ones doing everything. They're the ones getting shit done.
Yeah.
And it seems like the setup for it is that, they've gone through the police academy, but then they've been sort of shunned to shitty jobs, like office job and meter maid and stuff. And so Charlie's come along and given them opportunity to kind of do something worthy of their talents.
Which is really cool.
I did notice in the pilot episode. Did you watch that one, the one with Tommy Lee Jones?
No, I didn't. I've just been watching sort of the random episodic ones.
Well, in that one, it does basically end with them sort of getting caught, and then a load of guys come in and save them.
Oh no!
But the way it plays, it doesn't kind of belittle them and like, oh no, we need to be rescued. It's just that their plan goes wrong, but then the guy that they helped out earlier comes back and helps them, So it was like, it did make sense actually.
Right.
But it was a little bit like, okay.
I wouldn't say that tends to happen. They tend to like save the day. And it's their sort of abilities that solve the case, as it were.
Did you say you were watching mostly first series stuff?
Yes, it's the original cast, so I haven't seen any of the later Angels.
I was reading about it, and I understood that it got worse. The scripts got weaker after the first series.
Yeah, after they left, one of the women left.
But the other episode I watched, and I picked it out because apparently it was like a backdoor pilot for a spin-off they were hoping to do called Tony's Boys.
Oh yeah, male.
In which is basically a gender swap version where there's a woman, an older lady who is presumably a millionaire. She's called Tony, and she's got these 3 boys. She's mad. Tony's boys. And basically the Angels are sort of in trouble. Someone's trying to kill them. And so Charlie gets his friend Tony to bring her boys to try and help. And they all work together to try and solve the case. And yeah, it was just sort of nonsense, basically. The boys were as useless as the Angels are in terms of acting ability. and that sort of
Did
thing.
they do lots of jokes about like the angels kept turning the heating up and the boys were getting upset about it. Like, who's touched the thermostat?
No, they didn't do that.
Did the boys come in late for dinner, and then one of the angels bonks them on the head with a rolling pin?
Yeah,
where have you been?
He comes home and she's throwing all his clothes out the window.
Fuck's sake.
Just how gender was handled on TV in the 70s.
No, it wasn't. It was, they were all kind of, at first the angels are like, fuck off, we don't need your help. And then they kind of were like, okay, we'll let you help us.
My husband ran the best private detective agency in the country when he was alive. Now that he's gone, I've taken over.
We appreciate your concern, but we can take care of ourselves.
Not as good as my boys can. Bob is a former U.S. Olympic champion, and Matt is a master of disguises and weapons. And Cotton is a champion rodeo rider, roper, and tracker.
And we'd like to start by getting as much information from you as possible.
Well, if you're such a red-hot sleuth, maybe you should get the information yourself.
Careful, Tiff. I wouldn't get him upset. He might decide to shot put you or something.
I must admit, it seemed like a decent little thing for its time. And it seems like it did genuinely have an effect in terms of women, or particularly, I think, girls watching it were like, oh, we can do this sort of stuff as well. Yeah, this is good.
Apparently they were like writing into the actresses and being like, I want to join the police academy. I want to like not just be a secretary and a housewife anymore. I want to actually go out and like fulfill my potential, which is fucking wonderful. Like, how much better can you get?
I think it is good, and I think the fact that when they made the film in 2000, it was still unusual to have a female-led action film.
Yeah.
Albeit a comedy one. So, Charlie's Angels, it sort of started well, slowly deteriorated over about 4 years. Jump forward 20 years. It's 2000. There's a hot new prospect called McG. Now, Sol, we discussed McG quite recently because we did Terminator Salvation.
A couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, we did Terminator films recently, and he did Terminator Salvation. Now, that means after this episode, we'll have done 3 McG films on this podcast. Now, how many Martin Scorsese films have we done, Sol? 0, right?
I was going to say 0, I think. Yeah. Wow.
We've done 1 Hitchcock film.
No. We must have done a Scorsese film for the
I don't think we have, because he doesn't...
Have we not?
No, because he doesn't go into he doesn't tend to go to things that are in franchises or anything like that. But
we do the Oscars every year.
Yeah, but what's he done recently?
Oh yeah, he's been working on The Irishman for like 5 years, hasn't he? Maybe that's...
Plus he's like 77 years old and slowing down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He doesn't like superhero films, Alan. Have you not heard? It's the hot new controversy on the internet.
What, an old man doesn't like comic book films?
Yeah. He said, superhero movies, they're not art, are they? And everyone's like, oh my god! I thought Martin Scorsese was going to Avengers Endgame at midnight and sat there, and then when William Hurt turned up, he was going, oh my god, it's him from The Incredible Hulk! It's an Easter egg! And like throwing his popcorn out of his seat. And I think everyone's just crushed that their hero isn't sharing their interests.
Yeah, every comic book nerd's favourite, Martin Scorsese. But as we discussed previously, McG was a quite well-renowned music video director.
Do you know what it stands for, Alan? Do you know what it stands for?
McG? I imagine it's a contraction of his surname, isn't it not?
Yeah.
McGiles? Is he Stephen McGerald? McGinty? Oh, God.
You're not making that up.
Oh, my God. Fair enough. I've belittled him using the name McG, but fair enough.
I only remember because I have a friend whose surname is McGinty. So,
So he was, yes, hot stuff off of his Smash Mouth All-Star video. And they gave him the Charlie's Angels job. So this was his feature film debut.
Wow.
Charlie's Angels.
What was the start of this sort of boom of reviving like comedic skewerings of old TV shows as films in the early noughties. Starsky and Hutch is the one that springs to mind, but I feel like that was probably off the back of Charlie's Angels. If anything.
Starsky and Hutch 2004.
I mean, this came about because Drew Barrymore brought the rights of the Charlie's Angels thing.
Really?
And said that, so she was a main producer on both movies, and obviously cast herself in one of the main roles. Fair enough. I don't know if like similar people her age were also like, oh well, shit, I'm rich and in Hollywood. Why don't I just buy the rights to my old favorite TV show and fucking do a reboot? Like, I don't know if that was it.
Yeah, Ben Stiller's like, oh, I'll do that.
Fucking love that.
Well,
show.
yeah, you're right. I can't think of anything earlier than 2000 off the top of my head. That was this sort of distinctly kind of taking a different.
That's
take
it. It's the ironic take on it.
It's not just a redo, is it?
Yeah, we did the Addams Family a few weeks ago, and obviously that was similar, but that was a sitcom on TV that was just kind of being revived as a film, and this is much more of a. I say, having never watched the TV show, it certainly comes across as much more of a knowing, tongue-in-cheek. Yeah, we know the show's silly. We're gonna have some fun with it, kind of.
Well, I did want to ask about that because I wasn't quite sure where this film was aiming at, because I couldn't tell when it was taking the piss or when it was expecting to take it seriously.
I think I've got a note here that's like, who is this movie for?
Yeah,
because I couldn't tell this time round, but the first 100 times round as a 14-year-old girl, it was for me. It was 100% for me. But no, I know what you mean. It's a very strange tone, and no one looks good in it. No one comes out on top.
Well, I don't want to give away my feelings yet, but I've written more notes about this film than any other film we've ever done on this show.
What?
I was just like, oh my God, I've got to make another.
Really?
I've got to make another. Yeah.
Because my notes are pretty much just a long list of, oh my God, it's that actor?
Yeah, I did a lot of that. Yeah, I did a lot.
And like, weirdly enough, I mean, obviously I confused this with its sequel, but the only actor who isn't in this film was the one actor. And I mean, the only actor in Hollywood who didn't turn up in this film is the one actor that I thought was in this film, which is Bernie Mac. Everyone else is in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. Joey's in it.
Yeah, Joey from Friends. All right, I think I need to put this out straight away. I really love this film.
What?
I love this film. I thought it was fantastic.
That is the exact opposite of what I was expecting to happen.
Yeah, I'm very surprised because, as I say, I thought when I was watching this on repeat as a kid, I thought it was the most empowering and incredible and funny film that I could ever get my hands on. When I rewatched it this week, I was so embarrassed.
Well, I think I'm gonna land somewhere between my expectations for you, Alan, and what you've just said, in that about halfway into the film, I was thinking, I have such respect. This is one of the weirdest films I think I've ever seen. It's so unflinchingly bizarre.
I kept going to Crank 2, Sol, as my comparison. Yeah. And you know how much I love Crank 2. So.
It was absolutely, like I say, unflinchingly bizarre. But I did sort of begin to get bored of it towards the end, not to give too much away.
I don't think it's possible to get bored in this movie. They throw too much at you. But I did sort of start thinking that they were trying to inject it with that late 90s feminism, and they ended up taking feminism back about 10 years. Sometimes.
It's called girl power.
But my main sort of takeaway from this is the most 2000 film I've ever seen. I think if you wanted to sum up popular culture at the turn of the century, this just sums everything up perfectly. I think that's why I like it. It just sort of fantastically just accumulates
it's a time
everything.
Capsule.
Yeah.
Pre 9/11, yeah.
Oh God, yeah, it's definitely pre 9/11. So the opening sequence.
I think this is peak pre 9/11. I think this is where
The world was a
culture was
beautiful
headed,
place.
and then we got knocked down a peg or two. And,
or 10.
But the opening sequence tells us very distinctly that it's pre 9/11 because, and I want to give a bit of praise here to old McG because I think the opening sequence is fantastic. We kind of
really,
yeah, we go into just on a kind of filmic level. So we kind of come up to a plane, we push in through the window in a not too aged CGI way. And then we have this long shot, or at least an apparent long shot, where we follow someone through a plane. But it's not too boring. You've got all these little things going on. You've got the air steward guy giving a couple of lines for a couple of gags.
They're watching T.J. Hooker the movie Gilligan's Island the movie or whatever it was.
Comment.
Yeah, do a little thing. You see LL Cool J come out of the bathroom. Why he's in it, I have no idea. A little cameo for him. That's it. It was 2000. You put LL Cool J in your film, of course.
Yeah, my first note is I forgot that this movie opened with blackface. Like,
why is she in a disguise? Full stop. And why is she in a
so over the top?
It's just
like in the TV show they would just like put on a jacket and maybe some sunglasses. And in this, they're putting on full-on, like, rubber masks and pretending to be, like, men.
Mm. Yeah, they presumably got the voice chips from Mission Impossible as well.
Yeah.
That's explained, yeah.
Well, I mean, the reason is, the real reason is so that they can have this cool, look, we've worked out how to do a pull-off-a-face effect, rubber face effect. Yeah, it's to set up that they go undercover. They've got all this fanciful technology that doesn't really exist, and
it establishes the angels quite well because they're sort of introduced in the way that we're then expected to treat them from that point on. So Lucy Liu's the like serious good one, and then Drew Barrymore's the sort of funny up for a laugh like one, and then Cameron Diaz is the hot one.
Well, no, I did want to ask about that because they do.
I didn't know what Lucy Liu was.
They do the little intro sequence where they go, 3 girls who grew up very different, and you see these little flash shots of them like when they were younger, and it seems to suggest, Cameron Diaz is like a goofy one.
But she's also she's the girly girl one. Drew Barrymore's like more of a tomboy.
She's like a metal chick, yeah. And then Lucy Liu is like the posh one, basically. It seems to be. Yeah. So it's like posh, sporty, and baby. That's what they are. And then, they do that in the intro and set that up, but that doesn't really reflect in their characters that much in the actual thing. Apart from Cameron Diaz being like the comedy goofy one. The others, and Drew Barrymore, she's got a thing for the bad boy. Ooh.
Because Drew's a producer, so the main plots can be about her character. I forgive her everything. I love her so much. I do like it though. I like those little once upon a time there were 3 girls that were very different, rather than just there were 3 women at the police academy and then now I own them. It's like these women were cool in their own right and I handpicked them to be part of my agency. I really like that.
Well, yeah, let me quote what Charlie says. They're brilliant, they're beautiful, and they work for me. I mean, that's very empowering, isn't it? But yeah, so in this opening sequence, yes, definitely pre-9/11, because there's the man there with a bomb strapped to his chest, flashing it around, going, "Oh, look, I've got a bomb."
Oh my god, it's so funny. The stewardess is right there, and he's open up his jacket with this huge, it literally says a bomb. It's from a Wile E. Coyote cartoon, and then he glances around and he's like, "Oh shit," and covers it up again, and the stewardess is literally right fucking there, and you're like, dude.
Yeah. But then, no trouble, because LL Cool J grabs hold of him and opens the cabin door and jumps out. Now,
killing everyone in that plane.
I'm no aviation expert, but I don't think opening the cabin door at full sort of flight.
Oh yeah, that
good.
Annoyed me. I thought we were going to get a bit of the fallout from that, but no, never addressed again.
Fine.
There's a lot of breaking of physics in this world.
It's great.
Yeah, there's a lot of that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, Matt LeBlanc's cast is a big star actor, isn't he?
All right, I've got a theory about this. I think that is not Matt LeBlanc. I think that's Joey Tribbiani. being cast in. I swear, there's a bit in Friends where he gets cast in the film of Charlie's Angels, and it's like a self-referential thing. It's like when Arbed is on.
When he was in Avengers thingamajig. Yeah, you're right. I could buy that.
That's my theory. It makes it a lot easier to take because it's just Joey from Friends. It's not.
Well, my theory is that this is Matt LeBlanc's best film, not just in my own personal opinion, but like the highest rated thing he's done on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes. I haven't verified that, but I'm pretty sure it is. If I'm gonna look that up now, bear with me.
What about that orangutan film he did?
Not Forgetting Ed. I can verify, Alan. I can verify. Charlie's Angels is by far the highest rated film on Matt LeBlanc's Rotten Tomatoes page.
Wow.
It's the only film that is fresh with 68%.
Ooh, nice.
Oh.
I've complained about how much people love films like Guardians of the Galaxy based purely on the soundtrack. Because I always say, like, well, look, I can make a playlist. Like, it's easy. Like, I love all these songs, but isn't there more to it than that? But watching this film and its sequel, yeah, fair enough. I guess it's harder than it looks, isn't it?
Well, this is definitely whoever put this soundtrack together. They watched the scene and went, so they've set something on fire. Let me Google songs with fire in the title.
Let's type fire into iTunes.
I did also keep a tally of how many songs with Angel.
Did you? I did exactly the same thing. Yeah. How many songs have got Angel?
I think I stopped paying attention at some point. I got up to 4, according to this tally.
Well, let me tell you, according to the official soundtrack listing, there are 7 songs with Angel in the title. Never mind in the lyrics, in the title.
It's like in An American Werewolf in London, where all the songs have got Moon in the title.
Oh, amazing.
Just keeping the legacy alive, yeah.
Love it.
I mean, it's an amazing soundtrack. And I bet, this was, let's not forget, this was released peak CD sales as well. So I imagine they were very much thinking towards the soundtrack. Can I just read my notes pertaining to the cast in this film?
Yeah.
All right, so my first one is Joey. We've covered that. I
got that one.
Joey. Yeah. Then I've put Bill fucking Murray.
Of course, yeah. I knew he was in it.
Yeah, something of a nod. Well, I didn't know he was in it. I thought it was Bernie Mac. And then Bill Murray came out. I was like, what? Bill Murray? Then I put Tim Curry, Are You Shitting Me?
Yeah, Tim Curry is a sort of fake bad guy. You've forgotten young Sam Rockwell.
Oh, well, not yet.
I was going to say, he must be ramping up to that.
On my list, he's first on my my notes going. Oh, look at Sam Rockwell.
I think I saw him and didn't believe it, but then later on I've made the note, what the fuck, Sam Rockwell, what the fuck. I've also put, is that Crispin fucking Glover?
Yes, it is.
It was. I've got.
Did you notice how? No, we got introduced to Crispin Glover's character because they enhanced a reflection off of the window of a car window. Yeah. Another 2000 classic moment of filmmaking.
Enhanced.
I then put Luke Wilson. What is going on? And
it's 2000, so that's what's going on.
Yeah. And then I wrote, who else is in this film? Zach Braff, James Hong, Malcolm McDowell. It turns out none of those people are in the film, but they should have been. And I did make a note much later on. Is that Melissa McCarthy? And it was.
Yes, I have the same note.
Yeah, well, I have to say, it is that thing of like, even if the film isn't particularly funny or interesting, you just chuck a big name actor in and it's like, oh wow, I'm entertained.
Yeah, but these guys weren't big name actors at the time.
Yeah, 2000. Tim Curry, like people still don't really know who he is unless you know who he is. Sam Rockwell wasn't Sam Rockwell by that point. And Crispin Glover was only in like 1.5 of the Back to the Futures. And I can't tell you what else he was in.
Yeah. Clowny clown.
No, what I really liked about Crispin Glover's character, though, was that his characterization was he smokes, and then he's got a weird thing about hair.
Well, his characterization was they said to Crispin Glover, don't worry about acting, just come be on set, be yourself.
No, it was Crispin Glover's choice. He was given dialogue, and he said, these lines are shit, I don't want to say them. So they were like, okay. So he was like, cool, I'm going to be mute. and just like scream a lot, and they were like, go for it.
I can't believe his career didn't go further.
I just assumed that Crispin Glover was playing an iconic character from the TV series that I was supposed to recognise. Is that not what happened?
No, it's just Crispin Glover being...
He's playing a fairly pointless character in this movie and an even more pointless character that gets more screen time in the second movie.
Just bizarre. In the second one, it is just bizarre. At least in this one, he's like a weird henchman, James Bond type character.
Yeah, he's like
but he's credited as the thin man. I just assumed it was like the smoking man in... Yeah, I thought it was like the smoking man in the X-Files or something. Like I was meant to know who this guy was, but no, apparently not. That's weird.
Now, let's just talk about the cast briefly now we're on it. Lucy Liu, pretty much mostly known for Ally McBeal, and this was a bit of a breakthrough for her in terms of film.
Well, to me, she's best known for voicing Jade as an adult when she comes back from the future to fix the present in Jackie Chan Adventures. Do you remember that, Alan? That classic episode.
I love Jackie Chan Adventures.
Jackie Chan Adventures is legit. I'm not even joking. It's legitimately fantastic.
It's great television.
Yeah, really, genuinely, really good. Anyway, Lucy Liu is in it, Alan. Lucy
Liu, yeah. Drew Barrymore, who obviously was a child star, went off the rails for most of the 90s. And I think her comeback, I don't want to put too much weight on this, but mostly on The Wedding Singer. She plays the romantic lead in that, and I think that
was the first of her Adam Sandler collabs, because she did a few of them, didn't she?
Yeah, she did like Never Been Kissed and
that was
First Dates. Was that her?
Yeah. But it was basically, my point was that she had these little wilderness years in the 90s, and she was on her way back, and this was kind of her. This was a big thing for her, and I guess if she was producing it, she must have had some clout still to be able to get away with that. She has become a bit of a producer now, hasn't she?
Yeah, she makes great movies. And this is, I don't know, it's not silly, but like, I don't know if it has a place on this podcast, but for me, she was always such a wonderful role model because she wasn't that size zero, conventionally beautiful, like studio system person that was being shot out. She like, and I know she was like an alcoholic at 6 and stuff, and she had a really rough time as a child actor, but it's just really lovely to see her in this kind of role because she was always a bit bigger than the other two, and not by any, like, not in a massive stretch. Do you know what I mean? But it was just really empowering, like as a young girl, to see someone that was like your size being an action hero.
I don't know, I never expect to see her winning awards or anything, but she's a perfectly competent performer in this sort of film. And
100%.
So Cameron Diaz, we talked about recently, you and I saw when we did The Mask, and we sort of did a whole little section on her and how she's retired now. And it seems a shame. Cameron Diaz is one of those people, she seems to focus on comedy, but you actually look at her CV, there are a lot of non-comedy things there, but the comedy stuff tends to be the bigger things. And I think she seems like a really capable actor, and she's definitely a good comedy actor.
I have to say, I think I sort of unfairly dismissed her when we were talking about The Mask. I think I sort of said like, whatever, she's fine.
In The Mask, she doesn't have to.
Well, that's her debut, isn't it? The Mask. She was like 12. She was a supermodel that had just turned into an actor.
She does bring a lot to what she's doing here.
She's very watchable and endearing. I think it's a shame what they make her do in these movies. They make her very much the sex pot of these movies.
It always feels like they're just about to subvert it in some way, and then they never actually do.
That's what I mean. True. That's the tone of this whole tone of this film. Is like, I can't tell where the line is. Yeah. Where is it being serious, and when is it taking the piss? There was a real big thing about Cameron Diaz in this film and the second film. They seem extremely focused on her arse.
Oh, mate, don't even. I've got so many notes about Cameron Diaz's arse.
Really figure out why. And there's a whole scene, right, where her and Luke Wilson go on a date to a recording of Soul Train, and she gets up and starts dancing, And everyone just stands there agog, and I couldn't figure out what the joke was supposed to be. So I was thinking, like, is it that she's just a bit of a kooky dancer, she's just enjoying herself, but then everyone gets on board with it? Is the joke that Soul Train is like the black person show, and she's like this skinny-arsed white girl? Is the joke that she hasn't got a big arse and she's dancing to Baby Got Back? Like, is that the joke or not? I couldn't figure it out.
I agree. I'm not quite sure what goes on. I just know that I cringed the entire way through that because I was like, please don't all of these black people now get on board with Cameron Diaz's dance. Oh, they are.
But let's talk about Bill Murray then, because he's like as we've seen so many times with Bill Murray, he's like the big and Bill Murray kind of.
Yeah. He's a guy that you can. It seems that he will just randomly pick out of a hat like 2 or 3 films a year where they say, just come, turn up, say what you want, we'll film it. We'll edit round you. We'll get you. Like, don't worry about reading the script.
It's very much that, isn't it? I could tell that he'd been put in a room, especially when he's captured. And I'm just here comes the 20-minute Bill Murray riff.
I didn't particularly like him in this. I thought it was miscast. It just didn't fit his sort of style with the comedy they were doing. Just didn't quite tally. What he was doing was fine, but then when he's actually doing the character stuff, the obviously scripted stuff, he didn't work for that either.
I can't tell you anything else except this feels like it could be the first day of the last of my life. You know what I mean? Or the last day of the first of my life or something. I think I'm in trouble.
It reminded me of how awkward he felt in the 2016 Ghostbusters film. So do you think maybe Bill Murray's a misogynist?
Bill Murray hates women. That's a fact.
You heard it here first.
He's surrounded by them.
I wouldn't be surprised. We've all seen how Ghostbusters opens.
I don't want to get into a feud with Bill Murray. I like him too much.
No, right. The first sort of proper fight scene we have, like a bit of hand-to-hand fighting, and it was very much like, oh yeah, The Matrix came out the year before this, didn't it? Of course. Yes.
So much Matrix in this movie.
And again, really, really setting it at a particular time period. But I loved it. Yeah, so a lot of they're very good at dodging bullets, these girls. That's a particular skill of theirs. They do that a lot.
Basically, all their little side plots are excuses to get them into cute outfits and to do ridiculously sexy things Right, I'm gonna put it in here. So the whole point of Charlie's Angels, apparently, is that they're meant to use their sex appeal. Okay, I get that. We're hopefully moving away from that, and hopefully in the new movie we'll move away from that. But the trailer doesn't look that promising. But it's fine. It's not a problem. Sex appeal is great. It's fine. There is so much sex appeal in this movie. It is literally like the only thing that they can do, which can get frustrating when they're just using excuses to get into cute little outfits.
I was going to say, Drew Barrymore's basically a superhero.
Well,
there's a point at the end where it completely undoes it. Like, there's no stakes in the film anymore because she's like tied up to a chair and she's like, I'm just going to beat you all up. And they're like, what? And then she does it. And it's like, oh, okay, so she's invincible and there's no way to stop her.
Yeah, it's true. They're all a bit like that. But then the men in this movie are portrayed as so fucking stupid. Like, a woman, winks at you and it's like an old cartoon where they suddenly go all red and, fall to the floor. Like the fucking skunk in Bambi. I don't know. Like, yes, they're very sexy women, but every single man is duped so easily by them just being like, oh no, my boobs have come out. And the men are suddenly like, here are all the top secret codes and my weapon and my outfit. Just take what you want. And you're just a bit like, guys, come on. Like, this is insulting to everyone.
That's the power that women have over men. It's why they rule the world.
According to this movie.
There is a particularly weird bit where they're doing that, where Drew Barrymore's character is distracting a driver, so Lucy Liu can stick something to the car, whatever it is. But so she's got the cleavage out and all that. She's talking to him, and then she awkwardly leans towards the steering wheel and licks it.
She licks the steering wheel,
but not in a sexy way. In a way of like, oh, I really don't want to do this kind of way. And then he really gets weirded out by it and rubs it off. And I couldn't tell if that was a joke. I can't tell where this film is being taking the piss or not.
I don't know if he found that weird or if he found it arousing. Because he made a noise that signified both of those things.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think this film is a genius bit of filmmaking.
Because it's up to interpretation.
Basically like the product of a director who doesn't know how to direct insofar as everyone making this film is approaching it from a different angle with a different idea of how to play it and what they're trying to do.
Okay, so in the plot, such as it is, Sam Rockwell is like the nice, shy computer nerd guy. Drew Barrymore likes him. They play Scrabble, and then they diddle each other. And then it turns out he's the bad guy after all.
In one of the greatest scenes in cinematic history. So Drew Barrymore comes out of the bedroom wrapped in the sheet, as one does post-sexual encounter. And she walks into the living room and fucking, oh no, the like random woman is there pointing a gun at her. And subtle as ever, she goes onto the Scrabble tiles and she's like, enemy! to Sam Rockwell. And he's like, babe, like, okay, I got this under control. And as he gets up to go to the CD player, she takes out a cigarette. Crispin Glover walks in, all clad in black. They're both clad in black. With a cigarette. The CD sort of starts gradually, the music's coming in while she's talking to Drew Barrymore, and then Sam Rockwell starts dancing, takes off his coat, and he's also wearing all black, and oh no, he's smoking a cigarette! He's evil!
He does do a great sort of Kaiser Soze reveal where he's sort of like his whole body movement changes and he's like not a little hunched over shy guy anymore and his voice changes timbre and all that. Sam Rockwell, that's what you get Sam Rockwell in for. He can play good and bad. Yeah, but I do like when she very subtly changes the tiles to say enemy and then just says it out loud. Just you're gonna whisper to him. Just whisper. Like, she's you know that woman who's got a gun pointed at us. She's an enemy.
She's like finding the tile and picking it up and placing it down and then all searching for the next tile and picking it up. Like she takes ages to spell out this word. It's so funny. It's so good. Oh man. Oh, it's so good.
So what happens is he shoots her off the balcony. But not really, because what actually happened was she dodged the bullet with her supernatural bullet dodging powers.
Yep.
But then simultaneously threw herself out of the window, which I admit she's in a tight spot, but I'm not sure that's the best solution to that situation.
It's a bit of a gamble, isn't it? 'Cause
she's not on the first ground floor here. She's like hanging a cliff.
Yeah, and the only reason she survives is because the duvet, the blanket thing she's got wrapped around her gets snagged on the glass.
Yeah. Which can't have been in her original plan.
Exactly.
You can't rely on that, can you?
Happy coincidence. Yeah. And then the villains are too stupid to actually
double check.
Just make sure she's actually dead by looking down below, even though at the start of the film this same character did jump out of an aeroplane.
That's why they're such good villains. They do classic villain things. Yeah, so she's naked, of course, because it's a Charlie's Angels movie and it's empowering for her to be naked.
Well, to be fair, in this scene, the nudity in this scene is certainly not played for kind of titillation. It's played for laughs that she's having to run around nude, and they get it done pretty quickly. They do the whole.
That's fair. It still didn't need to happen.
It's not like there's a long lingering shot of her arse as she walks up to the window and all that. It's played for a little gag with the teenage boys, and that's all right, isn't it?
What did you guys think of the scene, which we've kind of skimmed over? I just found my notes for it because I've put, this movie is just a bunch of people's sex fantasies. Is that fucking Melissa McCarthy?
Oh, yes. So that scene is where Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz are dressed up as men. They're undercover as men. And definitely the sexiest I found them in the whole film. So I think that was a good move on the filmmaker's part. It's something for everyone.
Yeah.
And then Lucy Liu's a dominatrix.
Oh yeah, she's whipping everyone.
Again, it's that the timid office worker. There's a room of them.
Oh,
and Lucy Liu's
See, that was definitely played for. That's definitely played over the top for laughs because it's every single the whole office is full of these men drones on their computers, all in the same slacks and shirt and like pen holder in the pocket and all that. That's definitely being overplayed for laughs. So at least I know where I stand on that one. I know what the filmmaker's actually doing
Melissa
deliberately.
McCarthy's there to be like the extreme opposite of what Lucy Liu is in her like floral, frumpy outfit.
Yeah. Look, men are very easily led by women. This is the message I've taken from this film. I think we need to strike back.
Sexy
I think
women.
we need to start some sort of men's movement. I think women are in charge too much now.
I swear to God, even as a joke, don't say that shit around me.
Man. Well, we're 19 years further on, so we've moved forward.
So much has changed.
And that's it, really, isn't it? And then they do a sort of a wrap-up scene with Charlie because he's not there.
He has like a brief cameo, doesn't he? He like comes and stalks them at the beach, and Drew Barrymore like sees him, but then is all like, I'll keep it a secret. And they're all like, oh my God, Charlie, come and join us. Do you even exist? Like, what are we doing? How do we get paid? Because in the second one, Drew Barrymore complains about how poor she is, but she's a fucking international super spy. How much does Charlie pay her? Like, what? How does this work? Do they have to invoice him? Do they pay tax?
Is it per job, or does each job come with a separate amount? Like,
do they have to
DM?
pay for all their additional equipment?
They have to pay for all that up front and then claim it back, which is, I think, why she's cash poor in the thing. She's waiting for the...
Yeah.
She's just waiting. She hadn't paid tax for 6 years and she got caught. She had to pay it all back. So, Charlie's Angels... I did really enjoy it. It hit everything I wanted in terms of a silly action comedy. It just took me to 2000. It was so perfectly placed. It said so. But and I don't know if you've ever seen Crank 2, Emily, but
no, I have not seen.
It's just a perfect. It's like a branch of surrealist cinema that has slipped into the mainstream, and that's what I like about this film. It's just so weird. I can't tell what the fuck it's trying to do, but I found it so entertaining.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's as many of the sort of modern problems I had with it on this round, I will watch it if it comes on television from start to finish. And
it is a time capsule, and it's a time capsule to a time when this really speaks to me. I was a teenager, and it was when I was first getting into films and watching just shit like this. And so and I have got a soft spot for like late 90s comedy, action, silly films. So it kind of just ticks a lot of boxes for me, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you call it a soft spot, I'd call it a blind spot. But...
That's fair. But I think, as we'll talk about in the sequel, what I expected from rewatching this was what I got in the sequel. We'll come back to that. But this just came together more. I felt it was just really engaging. I don't know if the plot made any sense or anything, but all the parts were there.
What was the plot?
It had enough twists and turns. The plot was that Sam Rockwell needed their help, but then it turned out that Sam Rockwell was the bad guy and Tim Curry wasn't the bad guy because they wanted. Oh, that was it, because he wanted to find Charlie because he thinks Charlie killed his dad. But,
oh yeah,
Charlie bit his finger.
All right, so let's rate the film. We'll rate Emily. We rate out of 10 if you can.
Amazing!
Yeah,
get your head
I'm
into
going to jump in first because I think I'm going to be the most negative, and I don't want to end on a bum note. So I'm going to get it out of the way first, and you guys can be more nice about it. But yeah. I mean, I honestly was on board with this film for like half an hour, 45 minutes. I think I was enjoying it much the same way as you, Alan. I wrote down it's one of the weirdest films I've ever seen, and I can't bring myself to dislike it as a result.
Yeah.
Even though I really ought to. But just as I said at the start, the novelty wore off after maybe an hour. It just couldn't quite sustain it, and I just found myself getting bored, and it was never good what it was doing, so I give it a 5 out of 10, and I think that's fair.
Okay, well, I just loved it. I gave, as for all the reasons I've discussed, I gave it, and I'll appreciate this is probably a bit generous. I gave it an 8. So better than Godfather Part 2, I think. Okay, Emily, can you rate Charlie's Angels for us?
Yeah, no, I would give it a 7.5. I think if you asked 14-year-old me, it would be a solid 9. But
well, I would like to get into that because for our listeners who don't know, Emily is the host of a podcast called Why This Film, in which you get guests to come on and they propose a film from their childhood that they have kind of fond memories of, I think is the general idea, and then you rewatch it and kind of analyze it with a more modern eye, and so anyway, I get the idea that this really fits into that category for you of something really you watched a lot as a child.
I definitely did. It was on television a lot, and I would watch it every time it was on TV. And as I say, I had the DVD. This one especially because it had Tim Curry in it, and he was my number one crush for my entire life.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So
No,
I think we can all understand that, yeah.
So yeah, no, I absolutely loved this movie, and then rewatching it now, I'm a little bit more woke and a little bit more feminist, and I was like, oh, what's it really saying? But then I still can't undeniably be like, yeah, it's entertaining. Like, I like seeing them in their little sexy outfits. Like, it makes me kind of empowered a little bit, and it's dumb, but it's dumb fun.
Do you think you were influenced as a child watching this? You thought, oh, I can gain control over men using my sexuality. And did you use that to your advantage in life?
Even gonna lie, like, yeah, like looking back on teenage me, I think I definitely thought that was like a major option, and then I like grew up in the world, and I was like, if ever that's gonna work,
if ever that's gonna work on men though, it's probably when they're 14 as well. So,
yeah,
like 14-year-old boys are quite idiotic.
Yes, fair.
Yeah, so just take this opportunity to give your podcast a plug, Emily.
Oh,
where can we find it?
So you can find, we're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, and we're on anywhere else you sort of find podcasts generally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so as you said, like, you come on with a movie from your childhood that you either have watched frequently or perhaps you haven't seen it in a very long time, and then we'll both rewatch it separately and we'll come together and just have a bit of chat about it. We're on Twitter at Why This Film, we're on Instagram at Why This Film, we're on Facebook at Why This Film Podcast, and you can always email into us at whythisfilmpodcast@gmail.com.
And I will be going on your show quite soon.
Yes, I'm very excited.
How often do you have people on who love this childhood film and then they watch it and they're like, oh, I couldn't finish it. It was awful.
Very few, to be honest. A lot of people, and because I'm a big fan of children's movies anyway, it's very often that I'll be like, oh my god, it was fucking great, and they were like, right? I think a couple of times, mainly near the beginning, I did a lot of my own movies, and I went back and watched things like Queen of the Damned and Willow, and I was like, oh no.
I did that with Alan when we lived together. For whatever reason, one day I remember getting obsessed with the idea of watching Kung Pao Enter the Fist because I loved it when I was 12. and it got to the point that I was like downloading a dodgy copy online so we could watch it, because I was like, Alan, you've got to watch this film, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And I don't think we got more than 15 minutes in. I was just like, I can't, I'm sorry, this is awful. Absolutely just obnoxious.
Yeah. So if we can move forward onto the sequel, which came out a few years later, Charlie's Angels was quite a success. Everyone loved its fresh take on feminist values, and they wanted more. So we got Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle. Now, the Full Throttle never comes into play, really. I guess it's the motorbike reference. They do ride some motorbikes at some point. But basically it means this is Charlie's Angels, but really revved up. As I said earlier, what I got from Charlie's Angels Full Throttle was what I was expecting from Charlie's Angels, in which a kind of nonsense action which doesn't quite string together. This one felt much more like a series of sketches. Like they didn't even attempt a plot. I don't know. It just didn't hold together as well somehow.
Yeah, I agree. I
and it's the
don't
same
like this
team,
one.
it's the same director and everything, and presumably Drew Barrymore's sort of calling the shots from the producer's point of view as well.
Yeah, she was back on as producer, which is why she's got the main plot line.
Yeah. So at the start of this film, you have your classic opening credits, all the cast being put up on screen, and I was just sat there like, wow, it's got all these names again, and then I thought, oh, they've spunked all the cast up front there. I'm not going to be surprised by anyone who actually turns up in this film. No, Robert Patrick, Bruce Willis with hair.
Yeah.
That's like special edition Bruce Willis. I was not expecting that.
Let's not forget Shia LaBeouf turns up in a kind
of is here,
very pointless
achieving
little
nothing.
character. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. He was hot shit though. He, fresh off of Even Stevens. At this point. Yeah,
solid program.
Up and comer. John Cleese turns up as Lucy Liu's
Oh my
dad.
god, I forgot he was even in it. Yeah.
Primarily, it seems for a prolonged joke between him and Joey out of Friends, where Joey is proudly talking about how Lucy Liu's a hooker and John Cleese is flabbergasted. They get a good 20 minutes out of that joke.
It lasts the whole movie, and he's never put right.
Yeah, never gets corrected.
He just thinks that his daughter is a prostitute, and she's not. She's not a prostitute.
But
he's
supportive.
He's supportive because whatever it is, even if she's a prostitute.
He's like bewildered and overwhelmed and a little bit ashamed and.
No, but he sees how happy she is and proud she is of the good work she's doing, and he's okay. That's what you want to do, Ferret. Fair enough.
At one point, at one point, one of them basically says, like, oh, she'll give you a little something in a minute.
Yeah, she's like, I'll come back and give you a full blow-by-blow.
Yeah, and he doesn't object.
And then she kisses him on the lips, which
so weird.
And he was like, ooh.
I don't like this subplot. I don't like it one bit.
It's just like did someone know John Cleese and they were like, can you give us a couple of days? We'll figure something out when you get here. What is it?
Look, just get some reaction shots of him looking perplexed and we'll dub some jokes in. Well, the cast in this film is just bizarre part of it, like, Bruce Willis with hair, brilliant, love it, that's fantastic. But then, I can't help but feel like the film might have been better if they'd got, like, someone good as the bad guy. Because, Justin Theroux is, as far as I know, he's best known for being Louis Theroux's cousin.
Yeah, I don't know who Justin Theroux is, other than from this movie.
Yeah, the second thing I'd go to is he's written some Will Ferrell comedies and Tropic Thunder.
Okay.
He's got a very odd writing career behind him. And then the third thing down the list is he occasionally pops up in, like, comedic roles in films. And Demi Moore is the other villain. And again, like, to me, she's best known as a voice in Beavis and Butthead Do America, which was playing off the fact that she was going out with Bruce Willis.
No, she's Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's what we know her from.
Of course she. Oh, you're right. Yeah, she isn't that. Yeah.
She was big in the 80s. She's one of the.
Fucking Carrie Fisher is in this movie.
Oh God, yeah. As a comedy nun,
and it's brilliant.
There's a few actors that just popped up, like Robert Forster's in it for like one scene. Like, I know Robert Forster's not like amazingly famous or anything, but it just seemed a small role.
He's
for
a
him.
good actor though, yeah. And Bernie Mac.
What's happening, angels?
Yeah. So obviously Bill Murray was like, "Fuck Lucy Liu, I'm not coming back."
He claims it wasn't Lucy Liu. I think I've even got in my notes, like, I wouldn't have come back either, Bill Murray. Like.
Yeah, the obvious replacement. You want to go like for like, Bernie Mac.
Well, I had a question about this. Did Bosley get recast several times over the course of the TV show?
No,
it was the same person.
Yeah. Right, that's weird then. I kind of assumed this was like if they did a Fresh Prince movie and they like kept recasting the mum as like a joke.
Yeah, so there is in this film. There's a sense that Bosley is a code name, like James Bond, and They just can replace them. Although there is also a sense that there's just one woman who kind of adopts children and raises them as Bosleys. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
It's sort of a weird...
is very odd. Yeah.
Like, once Bernie Mac retires, Shia LaBeouf's going to take over.
Yeah.
Hey, I like Bernie Mac. He's good. And
I mean, I have to say, he kind of fits into the tone of the movie a bit better than Bill Murray did.
Yeah. It's Bernie Mac. It's Bernie Mac playing to his strengths. All right.
Yeah, he suits being Bosley. Now, this movie sucks. I'm just going to go out there and say it. I really like the first one. I really dislike this one.
And it's a good 15-20 minutes longer as well. Let's just put that there. Yeah.
It does just feel like a lot of sketches strung together without any real cohesion.
And the special effects are terrible. Can we just put that in? Like the CGI is really bad, to the point that I made a note asking if they're shit on purpose. There are times in the film where it's like, are they doing a kind of fake looking green screen? Again, is this like a nod to the old TV show that I don't get because it looks so bad?
No, they never did anything like that because it was too early for that. The one thing I definitely noticed from this film is, even compared to the first film, completely given up on any sense of reality or physics or anything like that. The opening sequence is like a helicopter falling off a dam and then they just sort of jump onto it. It was just complete nonsense. And that sort of carried on. The fight sequences went total like wire foo. It just took everything from the first film that was pushing like reality, which you sort of expect in an action comedy, and just went full on ridiculous.
And
it doesn't work. It sort of goes too far. There's a limit. There's a line where you need to go to.
It's also less believable just on a kind of human interaction level as well, though. It's so... Yeah. I mean, I'm jumping right to the end here, but there's a gag that I made a note about because I was so pissed off at that point. Well, the whole way through the film, you think Luke Wilson's going to propose to Cameron Diaz, and she's like got commitment issues and she's scared of it, and then he just buys a puppy, and then she goes over to tell, is it Drew Barrymore, whoever it is,
because she's terrified that she's going to go.
Yeah, and she goes, "We're going to get," and then there's like a 3-second pause before Drew Barrymore goes, "Going to get what?" And she goes, "A puppy." And you're obviously meant to think she's going to go, "We're going to get married."
But we already know that she's not going to get married.
But yeah, and so it's like they're trying to repeat that same John Cleese like gag with Lucy Liu, but it just, people don't talk like that. And it's not a funny enough misunderstanding that Drew Barrymore might think they're going to get married for a split second.
Yeah, the whole weird thing about that. The weird thing about that is that it's not Cameron Diaz who has fear of commitment. Like, she doesn't. We never really get into that. It's Drew Barrymore has a fear of Cameron Diaz's commitment. So it's all about Drew Barrymore's character and how she's worried the angels are going to split up because the other two have got partners. And I think that could work as a character thing to focus on in the middle of an action film. She's worried that the team are going to get split up because her friends are going off. And then it plays into the fact that she's met up with this ex-boyfriend who's now trying to kill her and all that. You could play in the idea of relationships. Any of that could work if they'd just written it. If they'd actually done that.
There's so many good ideas. I love the idea of a spoiler, like the fact, I think Madison Lee as a character idea and a name, I think is fabulous. And I think the idea of like an ex-angel being rogue is so cool. Like, that's so fun because they're like matched. It's sort of like a Marvel origin story where you're like fighting the bad version of yourself. But like, in 2004, that could have worked, especially with Demi Moore at the wheel. Like, all of these things, they had like, they threw them all in a pot and they were so good. And then they gave it to some shit chef that just sort of like put too much salt in it and then spat it out off the table. And they're like, there you go, there's your fucking sequel, deal with it.
We never get any real backstory for the Madison Lee character. And so we never really get the proper motivation. They're trying to do the surprise
villain thing again. Whereas if they just set Madison Lee up from the beginning, like we could have had a flashback to like the 1990s or late 1980s Angels and see Madison Lee like go off the rail and see all these things that she talks about a lot. Like, show us that, because I don't know, it's a fucking movie. It's a visual medium. Show us that, and then like have her be the like run through villain the entire movie. There you go. I fixed your movie. You're welcome. And this whole idea of like teamwork, and because that's another thing that I think is really strong about these movies. We come straight in with them as a fully formed team and as best friends. Whereas I've seen from the trailer of the 2019 movie, not to get into it too much yet, but they start off as like, there's a newbie, there's a Luke Skywalker, so we can get introduced to the new agency, which I'm a bit like, I get why you're doing it, but like, don't do it. Like, have the confidence in your own movie, Elizabeth Banks. And I'm sure this perhaps wasn't even necessarily your idea, to like, let's all come in with this fully formed team and not watch the friendship grow. Let's just go straight in with this female friendship and this team and just give us a really good case to work on.
That could also be a sense of like, okay, they've already done that, so what can we do that's a bit different?
I get that, but I just think it was so strong to start as a fully established team. Like, I really, really rate the movie for doing it.
Well, one thing that could work with that rogue angel character is that then the sort of secondary plot element about the teamwork element is not something to do with commitment or whatever. It's like, oh, one of them, and they kind of flirt with this because Drew Barrymore sort of leaves, but it's never in a sense of like, oh, she might have gone to the dark side. Is she working with Madison? Like, there's never seeds of mistrust sown between them, and then they kind of come out of it at the other end. It's just she's walking away.
I like it though. I like that it's just pure female friendship, and like they've got each other's backs no matter what, and they trust and respect each other's decisions. They're not like, oh no, we've got to go get Drew Barrymore back. They're like, okay, she's decided to leave, we'll let her leave. Like, we'll just carry on the best we can without her and hope that she's safe. Like, I really love that whole aspect of it. It's just everything else that fucking sucks.
I'd say there's one element in which this film surpassed the first one, improved upon it.
I know exactly what you're going to say, Sol. Can I say it? They put an Electric Six song in the soundtrack.
Yeah, so long as you ignore the Nickelback and Kid Rock desecrating Saturday Night's Alright for Fighting that turns up at one point, the soundtrack to this one is even better. You've got some David Bowie, you've got some B-52s, Planet Claire, which is used really well actually.
To get Bon Jovi in it.
Yeah, and you've got the greatest band of all time, Electric Six.
Emily, you probably don't know this, but Sol is a mental fan of Electric Six. You know that band that had 2 hits about 20 years ago?
Yeah, 2003 when this film came out.
He's like really massive fan of them. And so...
What was their song?
Danger, High Voltage.
Danger! High Voltage! And the Gay Bar one as well.
Right.
So that was their 2 songs that they ever did. But Sol's obsessed with them. So he does try and crowbar them into the podcast wherever possible.
Fair.
It does help when they put the music in the film.
Naturally,
but now that's why he's saying the soundtrack's better, just because there's an Electric Six song on it. Well, the scene where they play High Voltage by Electric Six, I'm assuming someone gets electrocuted in that scene. Because that's how the soundtrack works on this film.
Yeah.
No. When we kiss, when we touch, changes it. Yeah. No, there's no fires in that scene. There's no discos. I don't think anyone even kisses or touches. It's the most sort of avant-garde they get with their music choice in the entire film.
One of my next note is, that was lucky that they had to go undercover as strippers.
They didn't! They didn't have to do that. Also, just even if you take away any issues I have as this in terms of like, let's now watch literally it was like a 5-minute extended dance sequence of them doing sexy dancing that didn't further the plot at all. It wasn't until they started stripping before it started getting back to the plot. When did they learn the dance? When did they infiltrate that club in time to learn that entire dance sequence, of which they were the primary, like, main dancers?
They've got them ready to go. They've got, like, they've just got a repertoire.
I like how that's... yeah, they just infiltrated, rehearsed for a couple of weeks, and then... Now, the main bad guy... Well, not the main bad guy, sort of the first bad guy is Justin Theroux.
Enough about me. What about you, Helen? How have you been?
Seamus.
I see you still got a nice arse on you. You've got a lot of nerve coming here and stealing from me.
Stealing back's more like it.
Give us the rings.
Now, you may not have been able to tell from his voice, but he was supposed to be Irish. Now, they could have at least... Like, he was attempting Irish and doing it very badly. But then one of his
I mean, it was a real swing and a miss, though. Like, he was really going for it.
He was going big. But then one of his main henchmen is played by Tommy Flanagan, who's quite a famous Glaswegian actor.
Paddy O'Malley.
Top of the morning to you.
You know, you just don't look much like any Paddy I've ever seen before.
Man, you ain't never heard of no Black Irish.
Didn't even bother. He was just Scottish. They didn't. Like, fuck it. Who knows the difference between Scottish and Irish?
Same thing, isn't it?
Someone who's Irish, or because you're not making a point. Like in Johnny English, it's funny that John Malkovich is being French, right? It's meant to be funny and stupid.
I'm John Malkovich.
When I was a kid, I had to be told that was a bad French accent. Like I watched a review of someone doing it, and they were like, "And John Malkovich, terrible French accent," and I was like, "Oh, that was pretty good."
Did they cast Colin Farrell and then he dropped out?
Oh my god, I wouldn't be surprised. Because it's the perfect role for Colin Farrell.
Yeah. I just can't believe that Justin Theroux was their first pick. He just he really seems like pick. But he really feels like we've got 2 weeks till we start rolling kind of, last minute replacement.
But he doesn't even speak that much. Like, just get someone to teach him it verbatim. It's just, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But speaking of dodgy accents, there was one bit where Joey from Friends turns up and does what I would describe as a Japanese accent. Sort of weird, and he's because it's a bit they did in the first
Lucy
one
Liu,
where Lucy Liu he surprises her and she's like throws him over her shoulder and it's like, oh, how are you so strong?
Ah, so you thought you could escape my fortress? Not so fast.
Oh my god! Jason!
Surprise!
And she's meant to think he's one of the Mongolian people that they've just recently escaped.
Oh, was that what they were doing? Oh, I thought he was just doing an accent for the hell of it.
I thought he was just doing her voice. I just thought it was this
and that's why she's equally. That's why she's as suspicious because she's like, oh no, the Mongolian mob have caught up with us here in LA. Or whatever.
Oh god! I mean, out of everything in both of these films, I think that is the moment that has aged the worst, and that's saying something.
Oh dear. I can't really remember anything from the plot now. Oh yeah, so it's a witness protection thing.
Yeah,
and someone's stolen the witness protection details. But then, Robert Patrick is in on it eventually, but then that doesn't really go anywhere because he's not the main villain.
So he gets killed.
That's sort of there's a bit of a throwaway thing. We find out that Drew Barrymore's character has been in the witness protection program, which...
Oh, yeah. Her name.
They use it a lot. They play into it a lot in terms of her character and where she's come from and this sort of dodgy history and stuff. But it just feels like it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah, they definitely use it. But I guess it's just so inconsequential that it feels hollow and empty.
It just feels like it's a long joke. Instead of furthering the plot, it just feels like they're trying to get as many butt jokes in as possible.
Yeah, I was all right with that bit.
it just
bit of wordplay humour.
It was just so bad. It just it was just yeah.
Can we talk about Crispin Glover being in this movie and how
he's fifth billed in the credits?
We get more in-depth character background on him than any other character in the film, including
we do Cameron Diaz. Literally, we learn all about his upbringing and his backstory and his tragic life,
and it's not relevant to anything.
It's not relevant to absolutely anything, and then he comes in at the end. He's not working for anyone in particular, I don't think. But then he switches allegiance at the very end and starts making out with Drew Barrymore, only to then be immediately killed. And It's like, Drew, stop it. This man is like ripping out your hair. What are you doing? This isn't like, I mean, fair enough. But like, what? Where is this come from? What is happening? What am I watching? What is this?
Because they've got this sort of running joke that she always falls for the bad guy. I guess she's attracted to damaged men or whatever. But that's a different thing. Like this is different.
Whole, like, again, it's that line. It's them crossing that line and wanting too much of what they had. It's them taking down the Oliphant when everyone was impressed with Legolas's archery in the Fellowship. They upped it and upped it and upped it until it was just weird.
You lost us with that reference, I'm afraid. But we'll
you don't do Lord of the Rings.
we don't do Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
But there was a nice moment where he rips out her hair and keeps sniffing the hair and all that. And I think he gives her some of his hair or something. And she kind of like plays along and smells it in a kind of like, is this what you want kind of way? I like that. That was kind of like, she's just like, this weird guy, I better keep him happy or he might kill me. and then
Drew Barrymore's very good at making her character remain a character. Like every time Lucy Liu or Cameron Diaz is trying to get her to do something like particularly sexy that she doesn't want to do, or like whatever, she's always like, no, I'm going to go do this bit instead. Like there's sort of a running theme of that, which again is why she was always my favourite, because she was never coerced into doing the ridiculously over the top stuff. When Cameron Diaz gets in that fucking glass of milk, I'm just like, what? What is this fucking
Hang on,
movie?
she gets in a glass of milk. I think I missed that bit. What?
It's at the end of the extended dance sequence in that strip club when they're literally doing like a 5-minute dance sequence. Cameron Diaz like gets stripped naked by Lucy Liu's whip, and then she gets put in like a martini glass of milk and she like swirls around in it so Drew Barrymore can steal some keys, which I'm pretty sure she'd have been capable of doing without any of that assistance.
I don't remember her getting into a glass of milk, but I do remember that scene where they're stealing the keys in a very non-subtle way. Pretty much just like, I'll just rub this guy's cock while I take the keys off his belt. What else happens there?
I'm trying to look at my notes. They're just so make it stop, so much fetish. How is pretending to be a prostitute funny? None of this furthers the plot. How is Dylan poor? What is Charlie paying them? Why do they need to be wet? When they come out of, when you think that they've died, although nobody does think that, and they come out again, the fucking, like, sprinklers turn on in the lawn that they're walking through. And the three of them just walk through this parade of sprinklers whilst being like, okay, so we know that it's Demi Moore now. So, oh my God, I figured it out. It's Fred Astaire. We have to go to the Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh my God.
Jason's movie. But they're soaking fucking wet.
That is the worst. That is the most egregious attempt at wordplay in this fucking film. Astaire! Yeah, I don't. What do you mean? We don't want to walk upstairs now. We're just being blown up. No, a stare. Oh, I'll give you a bloody stare in a minute with me eyes, you bloody, if you don't shut up.
It was just one of those moments where I was like, this movie is allowed to be sexy. Like, of course it is. But this just seems, you ask like a 14-year-old boy, like, what do you want to see them do next? And he's like, make them get wet. Because then, of course, the minute the credits hit in, they start doing the Paris Hilton car wash.
Oh, what was that?
During the credits
Not
scene.
relevant to anything, not even a funny scene.
Did Shia LaBeouf write the script? Like, what the fuck?
I think I turned it off before this happened. What? They do a car wash in the credits?
It happens immediately. As the film finishes and the main credits come up.
Interspersed with outtakes.
They're doing, before the outtakes kick in, they're doing like a sexy car wash. And
is
then
the song playing?
To the sexy car wash.
Is the song playing Car Wash by Rolls Royce?
No, I think it's like All Star or something. Vaguely 2000s.
Yeah, McG called in a favour from Smash Mouth.
That song was in every early 2000s movie.
It was, yeah, it was.
It's because McG made it a hit. Well, let me ask something though, right? Because we've talked about in this film, the male characters are so often just like, boo, whenever they see cleavage. And they use that quite considerably. But the way that this film is presented, is the idea that that's what a male audience member is doing, because it's the same thing. They're going to be so distracted by the titillation that they're not going to notice that there's no plot or that the acting's weak or whatever. That's the idea. It's like we're selling it on sex, aren't we? Right? But we see that a lot. The reason that Hollywood makes men in their films like that is because that's what they think the audience is.
Yeah, and it's rude and disrespectful.
But it's also just wrong. Although, I don't know, is it just me? Because I'm not...
It's like, look, this is you.
Like, I
wow,
appreciate, a sexy woman. Like, I'm not... I don't think I'm unusual as a man. Like, I watch...
No, I can appreciate a sexy woman.
But I don't go, oh my God, I'm so, like, overawed by a bit of cleavage that I don't know how to comprehend things anymore.
Yeah, but you're not a boob guy, Alan.
That's true, I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there we go. Science fixed it.
Does that work? Are people won over by that? Well, I guess not. It wasn't like a well-received film, was it?
Or was it?
Well, no. Because they probably would have made a third one, wouldn't they?
It didn't, like, fail. I mean, they made money on it, but it's not like a well-respected film or anything.
No, it's not well-respected.
So, shall we rate? Is there anything else you'd like to bring up?
No, I thought it was shit.
There's really not much to say about this one. Other than the sort of things that I really hope they bring over to the new one, which is all about the female friendship, and I know I keep banging on about it, but it's genuinely so nice to see. And we were having this in 2000. You consider the conversations that were happening around Ocean's 8 about how, we've never seen this before. And like even the 2016 Ghostbusters, we did have it before. It just so happened to be in a movie that everybody then took immediately to the charity shop. But like, we did have it.
Kind of like Ghostbusters 2016 as well.
When I came out with a Ghostbusters remake, I was like, yeah, it was all right, nothing special. But what really struck me about it was that this was like, I don't remember, this really struck me that these are female characters, like, but... I don't know, I just came away from it going, I don't see that very often. Female characters kind of interacting with each other and just being normal characters. They're not.
Yeah.
But watching this film of Charlie's Angels, which is also a very female-driven thing, I did not feel that at all. Because these characters are women, they're written as women to be looked at by men. Perhaps not quite in the same male gaze way you always get. But in Ghostbusters, it was like...
I would say the same.
But when I watched Ghostbusters, it did very much feel like... If you made these characters men, it wouldn't really make much difference. But then they still retain a femininity. They will still talk about things as a woman. But then in Charlie's Angels, it felt like, we're making a woman film. Here you go, women.
But I think that's it. I mean, obviously, both films we're talking about here were directed by men. But I think the difference is that in the Ghostbusters reboot, it feels like there is a female voice coming through.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe that's it.
It feels like the actors are bringing something to it. It feels like there, was a female influence on what was being done. Whereas this film feels like three women being told what to do by a man. It never once feels like there's any like female voice coming through. And I think there is a degree of female voice coming through in the first one, but
that I think primarily came from the actors and the chemistry that they had.
Especially if Drew Barrymore's the producer, so they've got the power to do that.
And also it was the 2000s, and like feminism looked different back then. There was no like he for she, like even though it's only been 19 years. Oh Jesus Christ! But like, do you know what I mean? So much has happened in those 19 years. Like, we've all become so much more aware and furthered things. And, like, feminism was a dirty word back in the 2000s. I remember Kelly Clarkson coming forward and desperately trying to convince people that she, like, wasn't a feminist because feminist means man-hating. And do you know
I remember
what I mean?
Steve Carell
the late
shouting
90s,
Kelly Clarkson when he got his chest hair ripped off in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. So... That's my sole memory of Kelly Clarkson. Who is Kelly Clarkson?
She's a pop singer.
Oh, okay.
She won like American Idol or Pop Idol. She was like one of the first winners. She's still got a thriving career and she's an absolute delight. Is what I have to say about that. But yeah, it was suffering from that late 90s. You see it a lot in the Disney movies as well. We move from our sort of like curious, sensitive Ariels and Bells later into our sort of Jasmines and Mulans, where we're trying to stand up for the greater good, but was still being written by men. And I think you're right. This movie does have a primarily male gaze and voice, and anything that works that I'm trying to pull out of it is either me desperately trying to find stuff or just fluke. And I've got such high hopes. I probably got too many hopes for the 2019 Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Let's
talking
just pause
talking
there,
of Jasmine.
We haven't rated the film yet, so let's just do that quickly.
Sorry.
And we jump to the. We'll jump.
All right.
To the,
I said talking about Jasmine. So remember that.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that's going to be the segue. All right.
Oh shit! Yeah. Let's see where this is going.
So what's out of 10? I think it's awful. This film, 3 out of 10, and that's really generous. I'm being so generous with that.
Yeah, you're being super generous.
Because I nearly gave it a 2, but I
was going to give it a 2.
It had enough songs in it, and Bruce Willis had hair. So I gave it the extra 0.5, bumping it up to a round it up to a 3.
Well, because I enjoyed the first one so much, I didn't want to drop too far. It just felt like too much of a kind of come down. But I was leaning towards even giving it a 5, and then literally watching the car wash scene in the credits, I was like, fuck off. so I gave it a 4. Which, bear in mind, I give the first one an 8. That's a pretty dire drop. To say it's essentially the same setup and people involved and everything.
I have to give it a 3. Yeah, a 3. It's everything I didn't want it to be, and then it turned out to be, and it had such potential, but then it undermines that potential all the time. So there's no saving itself. Do you know what I mean? It's such a shame.
So I was really just wanting to speak about Jasmine.
Yeah. Naomi Scott, who played Jasmine in the remake of Aladdin, is one of the new angels in the new Charlie's Angels.
Oh, I didn't recognise
She is
the name.
the new angel.
Oh, is she the one coming in? So yeah,
she's the one coming in.
We should mention. So the new film, we were just talking there about lacking a woman's voice. The new film is written and directed by Elizabeth Banks. This is the only thing.
As well.
This is her only writing credit on IMDb.
It's a rewrite. She wrote it with her husband, and it's a rewrite of a previous script written by 2 men.
Oh, okay.
But she's the only credited. She's credited as screenplay. The other guys are credited as story. That means technically she's the screenplay, right? You know, if it was up for an award, she's the one who'd get it. But the first thing she's ever written in terms of IMDb credits, it's literally no other writing credits. She has directed before, and she's also in the film. Anybody who's seen the trailer, she's playing Bosley.
Woo woo!
This film definitely feels like it's not going as comedic as the 2000s film.
Yeah.
I've watched the trailer. It seems like a pretty straight-up action film, which looks a bit boring, to be honest.
I think that's going to be the problem.
It looked aggressively mediocre.
Why are there 3 Bosleys in the cast list? What have they done? Oh my God.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart and Digimon Hunsu are both credited as Bosleys. They've really gone with that concept then, the Bosley codename thing.
Well, apparently this is a sequel to those other 2 films. Apparently it's set in the same continuity. What? I doubt that's going to come up, but...
Also, how can it? Because apparently it's an entirely new idea of the agency. Because also John Forsythe is now dead, so he can't reprise his role as Charlie.
Yeah,
there's no one here on the cast list as Charlie. Oh, you know who's going to be Charlie? I'm calling it now. Fucking Sigourney Weaver. They'll have got her in. She's going to be fucking Charlie. I'm calling it now. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
She'll be uncredited, but she'll be fucking Charlie. Or there won't be a Charlie, and that's why it's so fucking empowering and progressive, whatever.
I think Charlie's going to be a robot. It's going to be an acronym, and it stands for computerized helper, and really likes intelligence, eh?
Genius.
Yeah.
What did occur to me when I watched the 2000s Charlie's Angels, which I thought, they won't do that now, is that there's 2 of them are white. And I thought, you can't do that. If you're going to have 3 angels, there've got to be 3 different types. And they've nailed that down here.
Yeah, they've ticked that box.
Because I was interested, because when I was reading about Charlie's Angels TV series, they were a bit put out when they were casting the third person, because the person they really liked was a brunette, but they already had a blonde and a brunette, and they really wanted a redhead, but they were like, oh, we'll have to make that compromise, I suppose.
You got to have a ginger in there. There's 3 women.
That's it, apparently. Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah,
but I like that now we've moved on to a point where hair isn't that important anymore, but race is. That's the thing. So I wonder if in this film, when they're recruiting a new angel, they'll have the same conversation as the producers of this film obviously did, where they were going, right, which race can we have? We got a white and a black already. So what? Could we go somewhere in the middle?
Yeah.
Asian? No, that's too complicated. All right, let's
trans. Can we have a trans woman? No, not in this one. Maybe
not yet.
Not
Another
yet.
20 years for that one. Another 20
There will be, I reckon, if this, and it looks like it's going to, if this is going to have several agencies dotted about, I reckon there'll be a trans or like a non-binary angel, which is great. Like, obviously, that's fucking great. Ella Balinska is a nobody, so good for her.
I wanted to ask, is she like a YouTube influencer or something? What is she?
No,
or an
she's
Instagram
literally
model?
a nobody. She's just an actor that has had, like, this is her lucky break. She's done a few shorts. She was in like an episode of Casualty. I think if she was in Casualty, she and Midsomer Murders, she must be British, so good for her.
She's British in the film.
Called The Athena. And now she's one of the Charlie's Angels. So, like, good for her. They've got essentially an unknown in, which is really positive for someone like me and assumes that I'm going to get nowhere.
I must admit, it is an odd one, because it is a part that I guess they want them to be pretty young, so you can go down the unknowns route. But it's not like they've got a big name here to sell it on, like Kristen Stewart, I suppose. But who's buying that?
Oh yeah, I'd say Kristen Stewart's still a big name.
Yeah, but who wants to buy that name?
Me?
Is she popular?
Stewart.
I think
she's also perfect for this.
I think she's pretty alright, Kristen Stewart, but
I think she's a fabulous actor.
But I don't think she's very popular. I thought a lot of people just assumed she's crap because she's in Twilight, even though that's not her fault.
A lot of people do, but like, there's a lot of people. There's been like a shift. Like, there was an Anne Hathaway shift in the late 2000s where we all went from going, "Oh fuck her," to being like, "Oh my god, we love her." The same sort of thing happened with Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
But I looked up Ella Balinska as well, and didn't know her from anything. But I noticed that she was born in 1996, and I just felt really depressed about how old I am. It's like, because and I just realised like that's not even young. She's 23. But just seeing 96 as a date of birth really just hits me hard.
Naomi Scott was born in 1993.
Yeah. Naomi Scott, she's one of the best things in that Aladdin remake.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she got away with it.
I haven't seen it. No, I refuse to see the live action Disneys now because they'll just get angry and no one will listen to me.
That's fair. Yeah.
Aladdin's not going to change anything about that. It's pretty bad.
Charlie's Angels, the new film, is it going to be any good?
No, probably not.
No, but I really, really want it to be, but it's not going to be.
I think, like we were saying, I think it needs to be comedic to work, this premise, because
otherwise we're just taking it too seriously, and that's not fun either.
Yeah.
Well, also, I think your 15-year-old boys, as much as we've moved on in the last 19 years, your 15-year-old boys look at Charlie's Angels from 2000 and go, "Oh yeah, I want to watch that. Look at those sexy women." Whereas they'll look at this film and go, "Oh, it's action. That's for women."
Twilight,
girls,
girly.
Girls, that. Because this. So who is this film marketed at?
Women, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just might not make any money. But
that's the problem.
Thing.
Yeah,
like,
because
is it trying to make a point or is it trying to make money?
I think this film's, from a business point of view, I think it's being aimed at young women.
I don't think it's going to be good. It's going to be too serious. It's going to be too different from the source material, so old fans won't like it. And that includes, like, me, really. It's going to be so woke that it'll eliminate a certain patch of audience, I imagine. And it just...
I'm going to call it now. I reckon it's going to be, like, weirdly anti-woke. I reckon there's going to be a joke in it about... There's going to be, like, a transphobic joke in it and there's going to be a joke in it that's like, oh, you can't say anything these days. People get so offended. And
not with Elizabeth Banks at the helm, I would hope.
I know nothing about Elizabeth Banks' personal politics, but I do know that she was a big hair aristocrat person in the Hunger Games, and they were very right-wing from what I could gather. So
I'm worried for it. I was so pumped, and then I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, but then usually bad trailer equals good movie, and vice versa.
Or sometimes it's just crap material.
Alan just thinks, I mean, you can't win with Alan. If Alan thinks bad trailer equals bad film, good trailer equals bad film.
So, if you were going to do a new take on Charlie's Angels, how would you approach it in this day and age? I was going to sort of semi-jokingly suggest a gender swap version, but then I watched the episode of the TV series that did that. But yeah, have like a female Charlie and Bosley, and then the three males. But you know, I was only going to do it.
Yeah,
as
no,
a joke.
fuck that.
I think the approach to do would be you go full comedy, but you get like the 21 Jump Street guys on it, or like someone good instead of McG.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I was going to say, oh, no, don't go full comedy because we'll end up with like something shit.
It's very specific.
So, that was not well articulated. But yeah, no, you're right. 21 Jump Street's the right vibe. And again, it's that resurrection of a TV program, isn't it? So
yeah,
that's good. Keep with the idea that Angels is like a code name, but have Charlie die, like that's fine, and have a new Charlie.
He leaves an inheritance to support them.
Yeah, either someone's like taken over as Charlie, or like it's like his son or daughter or something, granddaughter maybe. I don't know, but make sure
try and make
old.
it less of a sugar daddy relationship.
Yeah, more of a respectable, because it's I like the intercom thing. I like the mystery that we never see Charlie. I do like that. It's cool. It's like a shtick. So that's fine. And as I say, make fucking Sigourney Weaver Charlie and just have her through the intercom and not showing you her. And hell, if you want to do that gender switch thing, have her surrounded by fucking topless oiled men.
I don't care what we do in the film, but I think we should have you hear Charlie's voice all the way through. It can be anyone. It can be Sigourney Weaver, whatever. I just want a post-credit scene where the camera spins around and you reveal that Charlie's a dog. With a dog sat at a desk.
Talking dog.
Yeah.
With a fake human arm, like on the desk.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's my input for the film. That's all I need.
Okay. Well, that's Charlie's Angels put to bed. We will generally, Saul and I will do a Diminisode on the new films coming out. So we will go and see Charlie's Angels and this new one. We'll do a little review. But if you want to listen to that Diminisode, you need to become a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/dimreturns. You can become a Patreon for just $1 a month, and you get lots of extra material for all that, and you help support the show. Whilst you're doing that, you can also listen to a podcast called Why This Film, hosted by Emily Slade. Go on, give us another quick plug, Emily.
Yay! Yes, find us on Spotify, Apple. It's great. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. We're pink with Prosecco in glasses.
Yeah, and Emily's podcast focuses on films you've seen when you were a child, and I guess it's sort of, given our listeners, it's probably going to be about right. It's sort of things from the 80s and 90s and early 2000s
Very much so.
and that sort of thing.
A lot of Don Bluth, a lot of...
Yeah.
Oh.
We did Small Soldiers recently, that was popular.
Oh.
Thank you for listening, and if you would like to hear me on the Why This Film podcast, then you are in luck, because it comes out the day after this episode. Find it by searching for Why This Film on your podcast catcher, or look for @WhyThisFilm on Instagram. And you really should check out Instagram, because we are now on it. And that's right, we've taken a step into 2017 and joined the fresh new social media site. We are @DimReturnsPod, and we're putting pictures up there, so go and have a look. Follow us, it makes us feel validated. And as always, thank you to the Patreons who keep the show up and running. This week they've had Diminisodes looking at Zombieland Double Tap and Terminator Dark Fate. If you want to listen to those, then go to patreon.com/dimreturns. See you next week!